Okay, so it's time for another gear video. Well, again, before we get too busy and it gets hard to pull everything in one place. So this is going to be kind of all the miscellaneous gear, since I went way too in detail with the camera equipment side, just because I'm a nerd with equipment and the clothing's already handled. And so there'd be some miscellaneous things, med kit, stuff like that, that I'll just put up like a blog post kind of thing later, because it's just not that interesting. But I got a couple of these Sea to Summit river bags. They're not the lightest choice, and I believe I went over one of them for my camera video because I wanted something that was more resilient. A lot of the dry sacks and stuff sacks, I've heard almost all of them where it's like you brush them against something, they tear. Okay, well, keep it in your bag and be careful with it. Even just the usual regular use of through hiking ends up just deteriorating them, and so they haven't really made me want to go that direction for something to keep my stuff safe, dry, etc. So I just went for Sea to Summit big river bags. I think they were like $25-ish a piece, maybe a little bit more, but I got some discounts. I did go for a 13 liter for both of them, and the reason why is that I'm using one at the moment as my sleeping bag in it, but that was just for the convenience of transit. This is my food bag, and the other one is for all of my electronics, so there is a, as well as to have room for other stuff if I need to, like a river crossing or something, and I can't take my food out or something like that. I can put my most important things like my sleeping bag and puffing there at the same time. So it's not the lightest, but it's dependable and it does a job. So that's just a bit of miscellaneous stuff as far as the bag goes. But the sleep system, you know, everyone, the phrase is you pack your fears. Well, it's not really the case for me so much. It's just that my weakness and my most important thing is sleep. I had 15 years of good clinical grade insomnia, and that's past now, but it's just sleep is the most important thing on trail besides doing the actual walking thing. So I put some emphasis and weight into my sleep system. The bag is not heavy. It is just an Enlightened Equipment Revelation, I want to say. I could be wrong and it's Enigma, but I want to say Revelation. It's one of the two quilts. And 20 rated. The color mixture is interesting, but I got it from a previous through hiker that had only used it for like 2 weeks before finishing because he had to switch it up. I don't think I ever found out why, and he gave me a killer price on it, so thank you again. It's in perfect condition, doesn't even stink. It's fantastic. But they're really comfy, they're warm, they're the most popular things on trail generally, so no more need be said. Going down the sleep system, if I can reach it, I got a Thermarest inflatable. I wrote in some gear list somewhere which one this is. It's not the like X-Therm that's the warmest one, it's one step under that, and so my apologies for not remembering which one. It is a little bit heavier than the accordion, but over the last year we've switched to kind of a memory foam pallet on the ground sleep system at home, which I've found I actually sleep much better on than a traditional mattress at this point. And honestly, this is actually pretty similar in feel to if you sit all the way up or sleep at a really funny angle on your hip's on the ground. But otherwise, it means my sleep system is almost as comfy as my setup at home that I do very well with, and this has let me do that, so I've been very happy with it. To minimize pops, Gossamer Gear has a 1/8 inch foam pad that it's basically oxygen with more texture that just helps prevent punctures and technically probably adds some kind of R value and extra padding, but I just want to, especially in the desert, just give a little bit more protection for my sleeping bag. Related topics. Tyvek. It's just part of a house insulation system. Someone will buy large industrial sheets of them, cut them down to roughly tent shape, sell them on eBay for like $5. put it through the washer and it gets really the annoying crinkliness. Like there's a little bit of noise, not much, and it's one of the lightest options out there for $5. Just don't put it through your dryer, air dryer. So, a sit pad, just a cut down Z-Lite, which would seem excessive as well on top of this stuff, but I'm a side sleeper and I need something between my knees when I sleep, otherwise it's just I'll be almost asleep and the discomfort mounts and gets me before I actually fall asleep, as well as it can be to kind of thicken up a pillow surface or something like that where I just sleep in a different position, and when I want to, it does help warm up the legs with that reflective aspect. So, and the sit pad part of it, I cannot say enough how much I love that. It's worth a try if you haven't. So, last part of the sleep sleeve system is I do have a Sea to Summit pillow. Like I said, I'm investing some weight into sleep, but I sleep so much better with all of this that just the mileage I get out of the day is much better. So, takes like 2.5 breaths, and I got a huge one. My wife has a much smaller one before I realized there are multiple sizes, but it means by changing how much you inflate it, you can kind of control thickness a decent amount for comfort. And so while it could be more comfortable, it is like the weight of a key, maybe 2. And so it just was worth it. So again, sleep is just too important for me, and I've had more troubles with, so it's not something that I'm going to risk or say try to go cheap on, I guess is the best way to put it. So, a few other items. We have some Lucky Sticks, which I want to say we got these ones from the Climb on sale as a clearance item, and I've been using this pair for a few years really comfortably. Not much else to say besides just they've done a good job. Lucky is a good company, and I don't think I've ever heard anything bad about them. So, on we go with those. I do have a 6 Moon Designs sunbrella. Most of you be familiar with that. Some people, just because of all the wind in the hottest places, disagree with it. But it's still deployable shade, and if I don't want it, I'll send it home. So, last couple main things is we have a Big Agnes Copper Spur UL2 tent. I just have the poles here as a visual demonstration, since I'm not going to set up the tent inside the house and my wife has it over there. But the one alteration we made is, while the stakes that come with it are decent, we grabbed some MSR mini groundhog stakes that are a triangular design, very robust, very light, some of the lightest options out there that actually still have shape instead of just being the pen stuff, which they just don't hold as well. And it's a little change, but it just has much better sticking power. And then this lovely thing here is just an Osprey Exos, which I got for like $45 at a REI garage sale or so, that just had to have a buckle replaced, which Osprey did at no charge besides the shipping. So there are other lighter, fancier bags in a fashion, but I'm not ultralight. I have a 5-pound electronics setup, nearly, between cell phone, camera, and everything else. And so having something that can deal with that load comfortably is where it's at, and this has been a comfortable bag for me. It's very functional. I did take off the brain, which I normally keep for local stuff, but that's basically it. We have some shared items. We have an MSR wind burner for our cook set, titanium spoon. We've made our own DIY pot cozy. So there's some other miscellaneous items, but that kind of constitutes the bulk of it. We do have Yak Trax micro spikes, or no, Cthulhu, those ones. I was looking at the label upside down and got it totally wrong. And Black Diamond Raven ice axes, typical bear can, so kind of stuff you'd expect. So the rest of it isn't that interesting, if this is interesting at all. But that's generally what I'm walking out with. I'm pretty happy with all of it, but tomorrow's day one, so I will let you know what I really felt about these bits of gear and what changed afterwards, and we'll update you then.